and then just unpeel your see, I'm telling you, my brain's in a fog. My brain's so much in a fog right now. I actually want to be nice to people. Well, you made it this far through the journey, and hopefully you guys all got therapy by now from actually going through this entire series. We are now adventuring on the paintwork of the saucer section. And if you know me by now, you're probably wondering why I need therapy. So, also, with that mentioned, you know that I like to work from the inside out. So we're gonna start on this part, which is known as the bottom, also the lower planetary sensor. Even though I did just say I like to work my way out, you should be wondering, why ain't you doing this first? Well, this is part of the 5-color, and if you saw the last video on, describing on how you paint this as using all 4 of the, the iridescent colors. I'm going to do this by actually mixing all 4 this time and then putting on lightly as far as layering each color on there. Anyways, this part here is basically in grays, 4 different grays, a shade lighter from the other. So I'm going to start on the darkest and work my way out. The reason why I chose that way is if you look on the masking, there are thin hair gaps. So if I end up starting from the lightest, working my way out, you'll have those gaps dark. Well, in this case, it'll make it less noticeable if they were covered in a lighter color. So that's why I'm choosing to work with the darkest to the lightest. And basically, once you get to the lightest, it's basically almost white. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And a lot of this is actually looking at the paint guide. It's pretty much kind of almost randomness, but there is kind of a little bit of a madness to the puzzle. Trekkermahler's paint guide doesn't really show these dots that's on it, but these are in the orbital dry dock one. So I just kind of looked at a screenshot, and to me, these are going to be the darkest. So that's the way I kind of did that's why I kind of am doing it this way. And no, this is not a missing piece right here. There's only one part on this that says that it's supposed to be on the darkest color, so we're going to do it that way. And of course, these masks don't like to stick for so I'm going to have to actually just kind of do it with light pressure. And I got my airbrush kind of set without the tip, so I'm just going to kind of like spot hit it, so hopefully I don't blow anything away. And like I said, low pressure. So I already have my paint mixed up, but not in the gun. And of course I'm splashing it all over myself. An idiot. So clean that off me. And I'm only going to use a little bit because on the next one, I gotta line it up with white. Take this down a little bit more. Oh, here we go. Hopefully I don't blow anything away. Okay, time to mask this thing over and unmask for 1 shade lighter. So now this is going to be 1 shade lighter than before. So basically the 3rd shade of being darkest. So here we go. Do a little spray on the side. Okay. Same as before, mask, unmask, lighter. Okay, second to lightest color. I'm already having adhesion issues with the mask, so I have to be super extra careful. So hopefully we can do this safely. One blew off from somewhere. I see it. See what I mean? Don't. Here we go again. Come on. No, don't do that. Started lifting. Asks. Don't do that. Tell you the truth, I'm really not happy with this orbital dry dock set. I got this one here I had to try to tape closed, but it still wants to pop up. Oh, motherfucker, another mask just went. I'm telling you, I swear, I'm not happy with the adhesionness of this orbital dry dock set. I'm sorry, I'm not. They just don't stick. You might as well just lay paper. Square moved. Hey. Swear, the more detailed the mask is, the harder it gets. All right, if any of you guys watching this are involved with making masks, whatever, seriously, up your adhesionness. There is no damn reason it needs to be this weak. Instead, you're just making problems. Swear if this doesn't come out right, it's not my fault. Maybe that's why on the latest kit that I've seen from Boyd from Trekworks, he's using, I believe, mask designs, where the previous build of this was orbital dry dock, which is why I went for orbital dry dock. This could be the reason why. Okay, I think that's enough. Holy. Ridiculous. Okay. Got through this one. Oh, the next one's gonna have a feeling it's gonna be a mother. So I'm on the last color. kind of have to hold the rest of the crap down. Well, at least it's the last color. So, ridiculous, I say. Should not be like this. Oh, alright. Do the best I can to save this. At least taping it down, it's not going to move anywhere. But some areas still wants to lift. I gotta make sure it's down before I paint that area. All right, that's enough for this part. Thank God. Unmask, mask the whole thing, and then we'll do the dome. Now we're ready to do the actual planetary sensor dome itself. I went ahead, mixed in the 4 different colors, and even add a little bit of the white pearl in it as well. So this is kind of like the color that it came out with, but of course I'm spraying it light. So let's load up the airbrush. Make sure I flush it through with water, because you know, if you're cleaning it out with acetone and any little bit of acetone touching a water base, you're really in for it. I don't need much. That's why I didn't make too much. So here we go. And it's going to go on light. Maybe I could actually use a little bit more, even though I kind of ran out here. I might drip in. There you go. Honestly, I think that actually looks better than what I did on the front of the deflector dish. I think this is the better look of it. Just trying to run out the paint on here. Cool. Cool, cool. So looks kind of like that. Yeah, that is a lot better. That's, I think, the way it should be done. So I kind of wish it was worded like that in the Trek Modeler's Paint Guide, is mix all 4 colors together and then spray it. Don't just paint all 4 on there. So anyways, let that be a lesson to you guys on it if you want to do that effect. Okay, so after I deal with this, get it ready, we'll actually start doing the 5 color around here and just start working our way out. So see you in a sec. So I want to talk about the masking as far as this section around the planetary sensor using the orbital dry dock kit. I'll show you what I have going on here. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, what the fuck is that? What the fuck happened? Honestly, I do not know. I can just start telling you on how I laid it out. So these masking right here, they come in little sections. A section here, a section here, 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 and you lay them off, you know, as pieces into one. It's not like one piece you could put on or a half piece, like which will be later for the upper part around the bridge. These are just little small pie wedges, basically. So, and they're all identical. And going off of the Trek Mauler's paint guide, the way it kind of starts is you take one edge and you go down the center, and and you should have the same thing on the rear. So I put the edge of the pie wedge down the center, and the curve lines with the panel line all the way around, which was kind of like my guide. Straight down the middle, follow the curve edge around the panel line. As I did that, making sure all my edges on each side are nice so they're not overlapping or having wide gaps. And plus up here, this ain't a perfect circle, so you're going to have to kind of trim a little bit around it. As it starts going around, it was starting to step a little bit and a little bit more. Till I got to about here, and I pre-laid the piece on, it was starting to get ridiculous. So I started back here, knowing the same thing. It's supposed to be like straight down the middle from the rear. So I did the same thing, follow the edge. So hopefully it would kind of overlap each other a little bit, which wouldn't be that hard. But instead, getting to here, it turned into more of a square. Like what? So honestly, I do not know if the model itself, they changed the paddle line just to be a little bit inward or outward, or it's orbital dry dock and they're slightly off. Needless to say, I have a problem here. So what I think I'm just going to have to do is I do have to weed out for the first color, because it's supposed to be kind of like this whole thing gets two different colors of paint, the gold and a blue. So the main stripe is gold, and I got to kind of like weed out every other one. So I'm going to do that first and see where it lands on this. So hopefully it may hide it a little bit. So by the way, I ended up just like putting these ones dead center, so that way it would like be thinnest, like whatever this is, it'll be narrow as possible. If I were to go to one edge or the other, it would be probably show more. So honestly, I don't know, but I'm going to unmask this and we'll just see how it kind of looks. Maybe this might be a cooler design. Well, like I said, I don't know if it's the masking set. Could be, knowing the adhesion problems I have with it. The model itself, because it's not perfect grade. But it is what it is. So, obviously going to have to run it. So, I weeded it out. So, kind of the good thing is where it was stepped was where it had to be weeded out anyways. So that's actually a good thing. And plus also how it landed, it's basically here and here. That's kind of wider, a little bit over there, but that it's a little bit more unnoticeable, so that's kind of a good thing. I just know when I got to put these pieces back on, I'm going to have to cover that so I won't have an overlap of whatever, because I have to do the blue later. But this part here is going to get gold. Now, also on the Trek Mauler paint guide, there are two options to do this. There is a blue and gold, which is what I'm going for because of how the Aztec paneling around here kind of is. Plus, I like the blue and gold colors as far as my iridescence as compared to the red. To me, it's kind of pink. And another one, the other version is like a red and green. So I think I'd rather do this one better. So I'm loaded up. Time to do a light coat of gold. Just a little bit light on the edge. Okay, that's enough. So I gotta put this thing carefully back together, and then we have some blue to put down in here, and I'll explain that one just because the way this is laid out compared to the paint guide, it's kind of a little bit different, but it's one of those I get to do my own little thing. Now I'm unmasked for a little bit of blue. Now it's actually supposed to be twice as wide, which it is cut out for that. These mask sets are actually, for some reason it's split in two, but the paint guide shows it just a thicker, more solid color. So what I'm actually going to do is kind of take advantage of that a little extra detail, but yes, they're still going to stay one color's blue. So I unmasked one half of them, like pretty much the right side on every one, just going around and around. I'm going to do a light coat, and then I'm going to unmask this one and do another coat, just like what we do with the gold on bringing its intensity. So that way it's all the same color, but it's going to give it a little bit of its own uniqueness. So here we go for the blue. All right, I'm gonna mask this. And by the way, you don't need to save the masks on this one. So once you weed it out, that's it. Okay, time for some more blue. As you can see, it's unmasked thicker. Here we go. All right. Next thing, of course, undo all this, and of course my favorite, pearl white. Time to throw down some motherfucking pearl. Maybe a little bit more. Actually, no, that'll be fine. So, I'm going to go ahead and, unmask this, and then I'm going to seal all this, and then I'll show you this before we get on to this. Congratulations, you win nothing. This is where we're at now. This is how we turned out. So, here, let y'all get a good look at it. So, next thing we get to actually do is the real motherfucking Aztecs. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep the surface, a little cleanup, a little 150 sanding, just to get it as smooth as I possibly can for these stupid masks. I'm a little concerned on the pie wedges for those things as on this thing. So, but at least on this, I have all the body panel lines to do every individual one. But yet I got to cover that up. But yes, we're now going to do Aztecs. So before we move on, I want to actually talk about the Aztec masks on how to deal with them, how to apply them, and all that other. So what I got here is a set of what I've already done, and there's going to be, just letting you know, that pretty much all the masking makers, whoever you get from, whether if it's Orbital or Aztec Dummy, Mask Designs, whatever, this method is basically, it's the same thing. It's pie wedges. And with each pie wedge, you're going to have to weed out certain sections. And for the saucer, there are 16 sections that go all the way around. 8 of them you're going to want into one set, and 8 of them you're going to want into the exact mirror image opposite. So what I did when it comes with weeding all this stuff out, because it's a tedious job and it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, is I did one set at a time instead of going like this one and then the opposite and this one and the opposite, only because you can get yourself into a little autopilot mental funk where you accidentally weed out what you shouldn't have. So what I did is just focused with eight of the same thing. So by the time you're 2 or 3 in, you know exactly what you got to take out, and by the time you get to the end, you're like, oh, thank God. And then after that, set it aside and don't even, where you can't even see it, because if you're working on the next set and you have it somewhere in front of you, like, and you're just glancing at it for no reason, staring off into the distance, you're going to start going back into what you did before, and next thing you know, you've weeded something that you shouldn't have. So focus on one set, set it aside when you're done, and then retrain your brain and do the other set. Now, after you have a set, you should be able to mark, hopefully you can do this part. If you can't do this part, I think you should not even do any of this at all, is to mark which set it is as A and which set is B. And what I did was also, I marked on the edge of the saucer which set goes where. A will go to A, B will go to B, A, B, A, B. That's the way it is, every other. So now, as far as painting it goes, sorry about that. Let's, before we go into that, as far as applying it goes, it's cramping. Let's put it this way. It may not seem like it is because you got a big set and you just weed it out. You still have little separate, small little blocks that's by itself, especially up here. Up here is a so don't be surprised that you're going to have to reapply it and adjust it and kind of put it back, because there are little squares here, 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 here. So it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. There's no way to avoid it. And expect to spend a lot of time if you're going to do the whole thing like I'm going to do before I paint it. It's going to take quite a while, and if your hands cramp like mine do, you're in for it. Some people I've seen that like to do, a couple of these, like basically like this, and then mask this off, do this section, and then kind of do the same thing. Apply this, mask the rest of it off. I'm not going to do that. The only reason why is because if I do that, I could end up having my iridescent blue a little bit more intense right next to the other one. It might be kind of obvious. At least this way, as I'm doing the whole thing, it'll kind of blend and fade if it's a little bit more and not perfectly intense, but it'll blend and fade instead of a sharp line like, yep, that's definitely that. So that's the way I'm going to go about it. And of course, I would have to be very careful as I'm not trying to touch the next set and moving masks, because we know about the adhesiveness on this set. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and finish all this up, and then it's going to be time to throw down this blue. So we're now ready to paint on the blue. Just before we get started, just a little thing that I want to mention. When you get to this, expect like this upper row here all the way around. You're going to have little tiny squares in here, and they're going to move on you anyways as you're masking. Heck, I even see a couple here. I got to get a pick. Because they're so damn small, you're going to just fight them no matter what. So just letting you know. They look like little character eyeballs, like these little squares right there. So these little squares all the way around, they're going to move on you. So Just let that be a warning to you guys when applying these masks. So expect to deal with them. And of course, something this intricate, there's no going back. So literally check everything. And applying this in this method is basically saying, hey, give me arthritis. Bring it on. And when you get down to these two pie sections where the neck is supposed to go, what I did was I kind of like lined up and made a mark on the pie wedge on the edge over here, lined it up and cut it off because it'll just go overlap way too much. And if you have wire like this, you'll fight it. So you're just going to have to trim some off. And then you're going to probably have to do something similar to that on the upper part when it comes to where the, you know, that that's supposed to be there. So just making sure, going over it, pushing down any that I can see. I'm just more, like I said, worried about up here just because there's not much surface for these things to stick onto. I'm worried about blow off. For that, I better just turn my pressure down on that one. Check. All right, I'm going to want to stay back too because it gives me a wider fan. Downside about low air pressure, it does like a spitting thing. Okay, let me up it a little bit. I'm just going to kind of do a spiral circular thing just to kind of stay even as much as possible. Yeah. All right. All right. My edge is not that great, so especially down here. Just get my edge. Okay. That's it for that. Oh. All this work putting this mask on just for this little bit. So flush my gun out, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to lay on some white pearl before I unmask, and then when I unmask I'm going to dust on a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of try something. Remember, it's my motto, it's experimentation. We'll see how it looks. So now anyways, like I said, I'm going to dust on some of the white pearl over this just to pop it a little bit more. Same way, circular pattern. The white pearl you can actually layer on even more because it doesn't really make the color go away. It just adds a little bit of an extra pearl effect. So now it's time to actually unmask it and layer on some more pearl. Actually, I forgot, we got to do the tertiary colors. So with this set here, they only give you 8 pieces, which is half the saucer. And we also got to basically, I'm going to do one color at a time, pull them off, switch them around, do another color, switch them around, do another color, switch it around. Also, I forgot to do, but I should do it right now, is we need to kind of number them so we know we're not putting the same one down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And as far as this go, you don't need to use transfer paper at all. You're just basically pulling them right off the sheet and laying them on here. But you're going to have to reuse them, and you like a few times, so you want to keep them clean. I kind of kept the backing paper for this one that I pull these off of, so I'm going to use that. And instead of just dusting the whole thing, I'm actually going to kind of hit spots, because some of this is like want to lift up a little bit, so I want to make sure my edges are on these things are nice and tight. So I'm going to start here just because I keep having a lift like this. This right here wants to lift up a little bit, so I want to get that out of the way. So I'm just going to spot hit. That one went down. I mean, you could almost just go ahead and kind of do the whole thing. That's good. Let's just do the whole thing. If it's down, do the whole thing. See, that was a lift right there. Lift action right here, so I'm going to try and do it that quick. Right. So going to have to pull these apart and just randomly rearrange it and do a different color. Ooh, let's do that. All right. So now it's literally wash, rinse, repeat on the other side. So we'll go ahead and just start over, flip it on the other side. And I'll just go ahead and do that one off camera because it's the same thing you just saw me do. Just this is over here, this is over there. But for you, we'll just see how it looks after it's all unmasked. And then I'll just go ahead and do the whole thing in a pearl white. So, this is the two ends hit with the two sherry colors. So now it's time to put on some pearly whitey over the whole thing. That's enough. Okay, time to actually let this dry a little bit, which will be quick. And so the next thing we'll have to do is paint like there are these landing legs, what it's supposed to be. I believe it's the bigger squares, and there's some accent with the smaller ones too. Got to do something with them. The phaser banks, And then we can actually flip over and start doing the other side. Check it out. Completed paint work. So I just kind of did a light gray on what supposedly these are landing legs for when whenever they want to separate the saucer because somebody f***ed up or whatever, they can actually fly the thing like a frisbee and go. Again, so thoughts about the tertiary colors, at least the way the masking set on this is. I kind of wish they gave you the full set instead of doing half and half, because you have to mask off one half, but you know, you're kind of taking a guesswork on how much you're putting on one side compared to the other, because when you cover up the other side, you can't see the other side to match up. It's kind of dumb. You could probably remove the other half and kind of take a look, but then if, you know, it's probably better to do it all as one, because I can tell you that as far as differences, I have more red on this half than I do on this half. Kind of glad that it's more on this half, because the back corner here is usually buried a little bit more when you have the neck and it's underneath stuff, but the front here is usually a lot more visible because you're looking at it, you know, like that most of the time when you're looking at the damn model. And you'll have a neck here that would kind of obscure the view over here. I did a little extra more pearl white over here to kind of try and do it, but of course I obviously knew I didn't do it. Another thing we should do, even though compared to when I did on the last video with the deflector dish as far as the RCS thrusters, even though this isn't black like the RCS thrusters, and we saw how many times I had to go over the goddamn thing because yellow is technically a transparent color, it still was kind of harder to bury the Aztec that was painted over the phaser emitters. So either mask them off, or before you do yellow, just paint them white evenly, and then you can just put the yellow on it and it'll be all right. There's a little bit of bleed through on it, but not too much because I had to layer it like crazy. Of course, unmask the windows. So as far as paint work on this side is done, now we get to do this side. So of course, as you can tell, the areas that I start off first are areas that's going to be harder to see and whatever, just to learn something. But of course, you know, here it's going to be a lot more in your face and more of a centerpiece. So what I've learned from here, I'm going to transfer it from here. So I'm going to actually put a little bit of a clear coat on here just to seal this up. And the next segment will be on this side. All right, so now we can actually focus on the upper part of the saucer. So to start, we're going to way out is there are some accent panels on the before COVID deck. Ah, crap, that means YouTube is going to put a fact checker thing on this. Anyways, so these are the areas. It's actually 3 colors. Mainly it's gold, and then the rest of it, there's a little bit of blue and really a little bit of red, but those get layered on top. So I'm loaded with gold, so time to dust a little bit on this. So now set it up for blue. Now on the front of it, there's a little bit of blue that it gets. So just a quick pass. All right. So now, with this little bit of blue on it, we actually have to put in on top of it red and gold on top of the blue. One little spot of red that goes over blue. That. Now last little spot, gold going on top of blue. That's it. Just a little squirt. This is my BC deck complete. So, like I said, moving on. I could start here, but I think what I want to do, just for the heck of it, is I want to work on around the impulse crystal. That really is just one color that will be in gold. So now we have around the impulse crystal, which is set up like this. That's going to be just gold. So just really a light dust coat. So that's how that turned out. That I'm very pleased with. So next is undo some of this, and then we're gonna just go ahead and do this area in front of the before COVID deck. We're now on to this. First color, gold. Let's get this show on the road. There. Next round. Pretty much that's about it for the colors. But another thing I like to actually want to remind you, especially if you're using this kit and you're using the color, the Trek Modeler's paint guide for what colors and where to put it, you gotta remember, just like doing the secondary hull, that the layout is slightly different. In this masking kit, there are more spaces than there is on the paint guide. And I kind of figured this out getting towards the last blue. Like this section here was pretty much mostly empty. Where if you were looking at it, it's pretty much, there should be no two colors that are the same next to each other. So I had a huge gap here. That made no sense. And a couple areas where there was two that was empty when I was getting down to marking the last color, which is where you see little marks here. It's just to kind of tell me what I've done. But basically just kind of knowing no two colors are supposed to be touching each other, I kind of just fill it in with what I think will look best, just to clear that up. So I had to come back and respray like one piece here and one piece there, and that's good. I'm leaving my blue in the airbrush for a reason. And that is because where the white is supposed to be, I gotta put in, like, once again, these little accent, like in the middle of the white. So I'm gonna cover that up and then we'll put that on. So this is going to basically remain white, but like I said, I'm going to be just adding some of this. And in the kit, it also has, stuff for the Enterprise A and some random patterns like this. This is mostly for the A, but what I'm going to use it for is like maybe a little spot here and there, like a random piece out of it, just to, just to give it a little bit something. So here it goes. Hopefully it works out. This is the one I'm going to primarily be using, so I'm just going to go ahead and find a little spot and just try try to be careful as much as I can. Probably kind of dry it off. See where I can put this one. Here to kind of stay away from the one I just painted before because I don't want to smear it. It's kind of hard to tell also because, you know, this tape is blue, but I can kind of see it. That's good. Okay, so now let's go find little random squares. Random square. Let's see, how about that one's kind of big. Here, we'll use this little. Oh, actually, this will look good. Two-piece it. That. Fatter chunk. Trying to cover up any openness from the other so I don't get too much of an overspray. That one didn't take much. Get up a little bit more. Oh, a little bit too much. Okay, let's see. This one right here, since it's like dead center of the bridge, let me just do this. Here we go. That works. Actually, no. Yeah, it's mostly air. There we go. A little square doohickey here. Let me center it up a little bit better. And this one. Back to that. You can go here. Little long one right here. Short guy next to it. And remember, I'm just going random here. Picking a shape that I think I'll like, but nothing too big. Let's see. Oh, I missed one that's back there. Maybe do the same thing. And a little doohickey. There. Maybe some of them I'll add two. That one's got two over there. Maybe I'll pick a small little piece. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, think that's enough. So I got some like little random patterns in there. So I guess we're gonna find out how this thing looks. So that's this. Now, in case you're wondering, if you noticed when I did the bridge that I didn't put the pearl white over it, and I haven't put on that yet, it's because I'm actually going to wait and do over the whole thing all at once. Pretty much because I got to do the special masking on the bridge area where, you know, around the gray stripe and the blue and that other stuff. Same thing around here where I don't want the pearl white. So that's why I haven't done it yet, but it will go on there. And also, you know, something that was asked in my I got a comment on, what does it mean every time when I seal it after doing something like this? Let me just go backtrack. I probably did mention this in the beginning of the painting phase. What I like to do is, usually I know I mentioned when I started doing the base coat, so that's way back. What I like to do is, even though this thing is going to get a good layer clear on it, after I do something like this, I like to just put almost like a very light coat of a clear. You can do like a matte clear over it and then put like a semi-gloss and it'll become semi-gloss. Or you could do vice versa. You could put a semi-gloss but you want to dull down and put a matte clear. It'll become a matte clear. So basically, you know, you're just gonna use a clear as a sealer. Now, if you're wondering also, like, if you're gonna do a water, see, I'm gonna do a water-based one. This one's kind of inexpensive, and especially just for lightly putting on it. But there'll be a better clear going afterwards. In other words, let's just talk about this. Let's just explain like this. I could put this underneath this and vice versa. But the only way you can do it, the only way it'll work without anything lifting, is that whatever you put on top of it, what's underneath it, needs to be fully cured. Cured, not just dry or barely. Basically, maybe you want to wait a week before doing anything like that. Because if it's not, because, you know, paint is still chemically soft underneath it and it's still gassing. And if it's not fully cured, the other one will find its way underneath it and they just won't like each other. If you're fully cured, you should be fine. And if you're not going too heavy and crazy on it, it'll be all right as well. This is, since this paint's basically like a water-based, this stuff is basically a water-based, and I'm putting it on super light. Basically, it's just that's it. And the reason why I kind of do that is because I'm going to be working near it next, you know, dealing with the masks and stuff. And I'd rather touch the clear coat, because if I scuff it a little bit, that's the clear. I can fix that. If you're scuffing and messing with the paint, the actual color, good luck fixing that. So it'd be easier to just deal with the clear coat on top, because you can either clean it with a little bit of a cleaner or very, very fine sanding. But basically, I want to protect this paintwork down here from anything happening later. So that's why I do it. Anyways, so the next thing that is going to involve with this is the Aztec pattern on top of the saucer. So I'm going to have to spend a day just making up all those masks, weeding, cutting, just doing all that and, you know, getting this saucer prepped. So this is a good time to let this stuff dry while I do that. So that's what's the next step on this. By the way, just letting you know, I'm a little bit under the weather, so if I start making sense, you'll understand why. Anyways, got a cough drop in my mouth, by the way. So this is all masked up. So obviously, you can see here, I have areas X'd out. No, I did not X it out directly onto the white paint. through it. And I'm going to explain why. These areas on the panel lines, they're going to be gold and not blue. From what my instructions were, to actually, you lay down the mask and then you mask over the areas and then you later unmask it. But how is that going to work when this stuff hardly sticks? When the masking paper sticks better, or masking tape sticks better than this stuff. You put masking tape over this, when you unpeel that, you're peeling off your Aztec mask. So what I did was, as I laid each pie section down, I figured out which body panel I decided to keep. Marked it with something, and then with a sharp harbie knife, you have your grid panel lines already in the model. Just trace cut it, and then just unpeel your. See, I'm telling you, my brain's in a fog. My brain's so much in a fog right now. I actually want to be nice to people. The transfer film. So you unpeel the transfer film, but just leave the ones in the area on. So if you can see, probably in the sheen, the transfer film is what is my mask for the gold areas. So that way, obviously, hopefully you understand. So need to lay the blue down. Obviously, I mean, sure, I could have done the gold first and leave this part where it's most of it, so it'd be less masking around it, but I just decided to do it this way. It's my model, so it's my mistake. My bastard child. So, get some paint in here. And so let's do this up. Going far away. It's gonna stay circular. Hell, I don't even have my glasses. Let me get those. Oh, jeez. I'm telling you, loads of Dayquil and other stuff just really messes with your head. It's just a hair bit more. Yeah, I know. It's like, what are you doing? You having intensity problems. Take the ticket, take the ride. Who knows where that's from? Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Okay. Now I have to let this dry, and then unweed all this crap, and then we do the goddamn gold. Now we can go ahead and spray some gold on these parts. These parts, yes. Just enough. Okay. And like promised, I'm gonna dump some pearl over the whole thing now to finish it off. I'm grabbing around the center band because that's the next area, so don't worry about my fingerprint. That's enough. So, this is how this part turned out for me. So, let it set up. Just gonna go ahead and unmask this a little bit, like I usually do. A little dust to clear over it. And then center band time, front edge.